Welcome to Singapore, where futuristic dreams meet stunning reality. In this city of soaring towers, sleek architecture, and jaw-dropping views, every corner of the skyline tells a story. From Marina Bay Sands to Gardens by the Bay, get ready for an epic visual journey through one of the world's most iconic urban masterpieces.
Well, hello and good morning to you from a hot, humid and sadly quite cloudy Singapore. I am currently taking a walk from my hotel to the Marina Bay, and specifically I'm going to be going on the Singapore Flyer, the largest ferry wheel in the world, because I want to show you in this episode the magical Singapore skyline. Well, and as I head down this walkway towards the Singapore Flyer, I feel like I'm in a tropical jungle. It's absolutely baking hot. There's no air, so I'm sweating quite a lot, unfortunately. But it is beautiful here, absolutely beautiful. And what people say about Singapore all the time is that it's very clean. And I can tell you, it really is. Just look at how beautiful this is. In the middle of a city.
A few moments later.
Well, there we go then, about an hour's walk from my hotel down the beautiful Marina Bay Promenade. I have reached the Singapore Flyer. And there it is, in all of its glory, all 165 meters of it. Let's go inside. All right, so I've been walking for the last half an hour, and unless I've completely passed out, accidentally taken LSD and ended up somewhere I shouldn't be, I think I'm now in what is called the time capsule, which typically, just as I start recording, goes completely blank. But this is the first part of the Singapore Flyer experience, and I have to say it's quite immersive. You've got screens on all sides, mirrors everywhere, lights flashing, and sometimes you feel like you're moving even though you're not. But this is cool. It effectively takes you on a journey through Singapore's past, but now also showing us about Singapore as a global connective hub and a leader in the space race. And that is what we came for, to get on the Singapore Flyer in Singapore. Let's go. Here we go. I think this is the escalator of hope taking me up to the Singapore Flyer, which, to be honest, looks like the London Eye, but not on the Thames, instead on the Marina Bay here in Singapore. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board the Singapore Flyer here, surprisingly enough, in Singapore. And what better way to do this experience than to, lucky enough, get my own capsule. I literally have a whole capsule to myself. Now, normally this would cost £900. I'm not joking. I think it's about 1,900 Singaporean dollars to rent out one of these to yourselves, probably for a proposal or a special event or whatever it might be. But I've managed to skip the queue whilst everybody else was in the time machine, and managed to get myself a capsule on my own, which is amazing. And we're just coming up now on the far side of it, and just down here is where the F1 circuit is. So actually I'm probably better off taking you over here, although I'm not sure how sensible walking around in this thing is going to be. But here's the final corner before it goes on to the pit straight. And along here is the paddock and the pit wall, which I walked past earlier on. Now, one of the main reasons I wanted to bring you on this Singapore Flyer was to see Singapore's famous skyline. Now, it's obviously a city that is relatively small, or a country that's relatively small, on Singapore Island, but there are also a number of other islands out to sea. But Singapore is famous for its financial district, and as we go round on top of the Ferris wheel, I'll be able to show you through there the financial district in detail. Now, just down below me here, you'll be able to see the starting grid, the pit wall and the paddock for the famous Singapore Grand Prix, part of which is at night, or maybe the whole race is at night. Perhaps you can let me know in the comments. But one of the exciting things that I did this morning was walk across the track because I'd walked along this promenade here and I had to walk across the track to get to the Singapore Flyer. So that was cool to think that, I don't know, a few months ago the F1 drivers were racing around there, and then now here I was, humble Globetrot Colin, stood on the F1 circuit. So that's pretty awesome, to be perfectly honest. But already we're getting an amazing view, and I don't think, oh no, we're not even halfway up. But if I take you over here, you can see the Singapore National Stadium straight ahead there. Round here you can see the epic skyline, absolutely epic skyline. And I was hoping to bring you as it was going to night, so as day was turning to night, so that we'd see the lights of the city come on. But unfortunately, the tickets for this evening, which is Friday, were sold out. But hey, I've got a capsule to myself. I'm not complaining. Now, I would be lying if I said that I'm not sitting here now with a little bit of jelly legs. One of my fears is heights, so probably not the cleverest thing to do to come here. But how could I come to Singapore and not avail of the opportunity to see this remarkable landscape? And if I manage to get my legs back in a minute, I'll stand up and take you a little bit closer to the edge. But at the moment, we're nearing the top of the wheel, and it is very high. I've got to be honest, which is why I'm kind of looking out over here. I can cope with looking at the ships in the distance and just imagining the sailors on board waiting to get into the Singapore port. But when I look out there and I see all these tall buildings and I'm kind of as high as them, that's when I get a little bit nervous. So I thought I'd keep it real and let you know what it's like. Right, I've decided that in life you've just got to face your fears, so get on with it. But when you walk, the capsule wobbles a bit. So yeah, I mean, good that I'm on my own. But because then if there were lots of other people, it would be bouncing around a lot. But that's the view out to the beautiful gardens by the bay there, and you can actually see a plane coming in to land. I mean, this gives you a bit of an idea of how high we are, looking out there on the gardens, and you know, there's a plane flying not an awful lot higher than we are right now. But as I sort of try and not convey my fear in my voice, the Marina Bay Sands, the famous hotel with that amazing structure on top where there's a pool, bar, restaurant, etc., as well as the hotel. But in the background here, and we're going to see it in just a moment, you've got the skyline of the financial district, which is such a famous part of Singapore's beautiful skyline. And then if you look out over there, Singapore is one of the smallest countries in the world and the smallest capital cities in the world. I think something like 743 square kilometers, which sounds like a lot, but it really isn't, is absolutely densely packed with skyscrapers, apartment blocks and all that kind of stuff. And I am getting a little bit nervous again, so I'm going to go and sit down. But the cool thing is you can actually see Changi Airport, and I don't know if you can see it, but that plane that we saw a moment ago is on final approach coming down to the airport. So somebody who's an av geek like me could actually get into this by sitting here and watching the planes, but that's not what we're here for, and that's not what we're here for at all. Now literally as far as the eye can see there are ships waiting to come into port, or perhaps they already are docked and they're waiting to be unloaded somehow whilst they're at sea. I'm not really au fait with this kind of thing, but what I will say is that there are an awful lot of boats, huge ships, waiting to come into Singapore port. It could be as well that perhaps they're going around Singapore and heading up to Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur, if my geography serves me correctly. But as I gibber on and try and avoid feeling scared, which I'm failing at miserably, here we are pretty much on top of the flyer. So apart from the people who are on top of the Mandalay Bay, Singapore hotel there, I am currently one of the highest people in Singapore. Woo! So an announcement has just come over the tannoy that we are now at 165 meters above sea level here on top of the Singapore Flyer. And it's nice and cool in here because it's air conditioned, but my arms are sweating. I'm not joking, my arms are actually sweating because I'm not a massive fan of heights. So I hope you like this video because I'm going through a bit of torture to get it. So there you go. That is the skyline of Singapore. One of the most famous hotels in the world on the left, the financial district straight ahead of us. Out here to this side, we would be able to see Raffles, the hotel, if I knew exactly where it was, but unfortunately I don't. I'll hopefully try and visit that at some point during my stay here in Singapore, and I'm only here for another couple of days. And then this is back over the city, and then back down towards Changi Airport and around to the port. Absolutely spectacular view from up here. And Singapore, so far as I've seen, is absolutely beautifully clean, well kept, and luscious and tropical, and it looks exactly that from up here as well. And I think I might be starting to get my sea legs because I'm quite enjoying this now. I think a large part of that, though, is the fact that we're actually on our way down again now, which is always good. But yeah, this is good. If you are somebody who wants to get a panoramic view of Singapore whilst you're here, and I do recommend you do it, come on the Singapore Flyer. It was 40 Singapore dollars for the time machine and the Flyer, which I think works out to about 27, 28 pounds, something like that. So not too bad really, considering the Flyer journey is half an hour and the time machine, if you want to stay in there, is also about half an hour. So a good hour's worth of entertainment plus this absolutely magnificent view, I think is well worth it. Now, just beyond the financial district through there, you will be able to see an island, and that is Sentosa Island, sometimes known as Billionaires Island, and it lies to the southern, I think the southwestern side of Singapore, and is where some of the more wealthy people live. But it also has Disneyland on there, I believe. I will try and get over there because there's a cable car ride that takes you from Singapore Island to Sentosa Island, and again I believe we'll get great views. But would I be able to cope with heights 2 days running? That's the question, and I'm not 100% sure, but we're on our way back down. Now then, before we finish our descent back down to terra firma, and I have to say that won't come a moment too soon, I thought I'd give you a little bit of history on Singapore itself. It was founded as a British trading outpost by Sir Stamford Raffles, after which, of course, the famous hotel is now named, way back in 1819. However, Singapore, though, gained independence in 1965 from Malaysia, and it's now got a parliamentary democracy. And the first Prime Minister really turned Singapore into an economic hub that we can see today. And I mean, it is spectacular. You can see the financial district here. Everywhere I've walked, there's business happening. There's large corporations, these huge buildings here all over the city. And it's hard to think that really in the space of just 40, 50, 60 years that Singapore has gone from a British trading outpost to the mega metropolis that it is today. Well, there we go then. Half an hour looking at Singapore's absolutely remarkable skyline from the Singapore Flyer here. Honest to God, even though I was a little bit nervous, a lot nervous, I've really enjoyed it. The skyline is breathtaking, and it is worth the 12-hour flight that it took to get here. There's so much to see, and it makes me realise that there's so much to explore that I probably am not going to have enough time to. But the Singapore Flyer really does allow you to kind of see the city and the scale of the city from the sky. So if you're in Singapore, I can't recommend it highly enough. Singapore Flyer, completed it, mate. Raffles Hotel. Let's hope they let me in wearing my Grimsby Town shirt and some cargo shorts. But I hope I cut a distinguished figure and therefore shall be allowed in.